Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for my rational perspective on Chelsea 3, West Ham 0. Chelsea back to winning ways before Christmas. A really weird game to sit here and talk about. In terms of my feelings towards it, how radically it changed in a couple of minutes in that second half was ridiculous. For most of the game, pretty much after we took the lead early on, it became really frustrating in terms of the type of performance it was. I felt Chelsea putting themselves under unnecessary pressure, Chelsea having to withstand a lot of pressure, not having much of the ball, not looking that threatening or progressive or sort of sharp in possession tonight. We gave the ball away a lot tonight, and it looked like it was turning into another Wolves performance, a really frustrating evening where West Ham would get back into the game, but then suddenly Tammy's here to save Chelsea's Christmas. Two quick goals in succession to wrap up the game and make that final sort of 10 minutes, I think it was less than that, really comfortable for Chelsea. It's a big win tonight, it really is. I don't want to get away from that. There were very frustrating and concerning elements to tonight's performance. I do want to pose this question, though, in terms of the way majority of that game went, especially for most of the second half. Do you back last season's Chelsea to get through those difficult periods, the set pieces? Think of the contrast in the way Chelsea dealt with set pieces against West Ham from last season to this season. It's night and day, and I think Thiago Silva, for me, is man of the match tonight. He scored the opening goal from a set piece, but all round tonight, just his authority back there. It's just his vocal presence as well. I know that's quite a simplistic thing to say, but given some of the centre-backs Chelsea have, I think it's amazing to have one who's as vocal, who's always talking, but all round is such a class centre-back. We know that this season, but I think him and Zuma having a really good game. I think under really challenging circumstances, not only before the game, Reece James being out, but early in the game, Ben Chilwell going down with an injury. And I felt that was really going to hurt Chelsea tonight. And I think not having our first choice fullbacks who are so integral to the way we attack and defend in our system, I think really hurt Chelsea tonight. So I think going really harsh on the performance, I think I do need to take that into consideration when thinking about Dave and Emerson. I don't think either of them had poor games tonight. I felt, as the game dragged on, I felt that both defensively, they did well when they had to, especially Emerson, who's usually a liability for me in Chelsea's defence. I think the massive concern is moving forward, the extent to Ben Chilwell's injury. It'd be awful thinking about the next few weeks, or just going beyond that, having both Chilwell and James out of injury. So fingers crossed, Chilwell, it's a knock. It did look pretty grim on replay, but we took the lead early, and looking at that starting 11, I was big surprises for me, mostly Jorginho being back in this midfield. For weeks it's looked like, despite the Champions League games where Frank Lampard rotates, Jorginho is not going to be a part of Frank Lampard's plans moving forward. He's not going to be a first choice midfielder. Frank very much settling on the 4-3-3 with Kante as a lone DM. Tonight he switches that up, and it was a surprise to me to see Jorginho in there. I felt Georgie started the game very well, and it looked like he was going to have a really good night. The issue is with Jorginho, as I think we've covered a lot of time before, he's a brilliant player when we have possession, and Chelsea are on top of a game. He made some wonderful first-time passes that's why you love watching Jorginho play. The issue is when the game turned, and when the game turned, Jorginho really struggled, and that's eventually why the first sub made was Jorginho off and Kovacic on. He lost the ball in dangerous areas, didn't offer enough protection. These are things we've covered a lot of times before in regards to Jorginho, but that was a surprise to me, and I felt that it was good that when those struggles did come and we could see that Jorginho was struggling on the pitch, Frank Lampard was alert enough to make that change pretty quickly. I've seen frustration with Frank over recent weeks and recent games like the Everton and Wolves game, that Frank doesn't make changes quickly enough. I think he did tonight. I think he saw that and luckily brought cover on, because Georgie was just having a bit of a nightmare out there all round. And I think proving once again why he's not going to be a part of the long-term future under Lampard. He has some nice moments. He's a good player in rotation in, say, the cup games and a few Champions League group games. But I think generally we know now Kante is the lone DM. I don't know why you want to stray away from something that has predominantly worked. I know maybe there's some doubt creeping in based on the previous two games or just needing to rotate some players. But it was a bit of a surprise that Kova was not on the starting 11 and Jorginho was. Tammy Abraham starting up front. That was a big surprise to me. But you've got to give credit to Tammy tonight. He got the chances in the end and he wraps up the game for Chelsea. I think it's interesting looking at the game and seeing sort of the tale of two strikers tonight in Tammy Abraham and Timo Werner. The fact that Tammy Abraham profits off Timo Werner's misfortune and sort of poor form at the moment, hitting the ball low across the box, and it's a really mishit shot. I mean, that second goal was just incredible. I thought I was certain it was offside. I didn't even celebrate that much. I thought this is going to be called for offside. When you look back at it, the whole West Ham defence just static, and Tammy Abraham, as he should do, and this is a thing I've criticised in his game before, anticipation to make those runs, to be alert ahead of his opposing defenders. Tonight he was at a key period of the game, and he scores a goal that effectively wraps up the game, and then a minute later Chelsea really finding their groove. I loved Tammy's all-round involvement in that third goal. A lovely little flick in combination with Christian Pulisic, and eventually Pulisic nearly scoring himself from a cross into the box, but Tammy Abraham being there once again to clinically finish off the game and make it 3-0. So Tammy Abraham, it's a big night for him, you know, scoring 2 goals when he comes into the team. I'm sure there'll be people criticising him, saying, why is he in ahead of Olivier Giroud? Well, when he's in the team, he's got to take those chances, and he has. And I think, you know, it's nights like tonight, I think, are big for Tammy Abraham to stake his claim as Chelsea's first choice striker. Christian Pulisic, it's good to see Pulisic getting back to where he was last season. There was some frustration for me in moments. There was a couple of times where he got into really good positions, and I think he could have played in Werner a little bit sooner, or done other things in the game. But I think all round now you're starting to see Pulisic get back to those levels, you know, influence within the game. Really, even though sometimes he was on the right, on the left, you know, especially in central areas, he can be so dangerous. And his hand and involvement in the third goal, in central areas, having that anticipation to make that run into the box, I think is so key for Chelsea, and why he can score a lot of goals in his career. So I think all round, having Pulisic back fit and firing again. Yeah, he hasn't scored a goal, he hasn't assisted tonight, but I felt he had a positive influence in the game. And I think for Chelsea moving forward, I think it's big he's back in fitness of some kind, because I think that's going to really help Chelsea in attack. Lastly, I think I've got to speak about Timo Werner. It's just not falling for him at the moment, but I've got to give Timo credit for the work rate. I think he's a player, to me, that doesn't look like his all-round game is being absolutely like pulled down because of his inability to score at the moment. I felt he's still offering something to Chelsea, you know, even though I'm pretty sure, almost certain it wasn't intended. He creates the second goal for Chelsea. He's getting into positions. He's making space. He's trying to get on the ball and make something happen. He's putting himself into positions to get the ball and have a shot at goal. You know, I think my issue with Chelsea strikers in the past that have struggled is they sort of hide after they miss a chance. You know, Timo misses that chance in the first half, but he's still looking to create something, looking to get into the box. And I think that's a positive sign for me for Frank Lampard, and moving forward, is that he's still getting into the game. His head isn't dropping. He isn't just being isolated and, you know, allowing himself to drift away from the game. Like, I think that was the issue against Wolves tonight. He was very active within the game. I think it is going to fall for him eventually pretty soon. Let's hope it's at the Emirates on Saturday for a big game for Chelsea. But I think Timo will get that goal. I think it's just a bit like Tammy tonight, you know, a bit of fortune potentially, of maybe a miss-hit cross, a miss-hit pass, you know, something falling for him, you know, maybe it deflecting off him, you know, scuffing his shot into the bottom corner, deceiving the keeper, something along those lines to really change things for Timo, because I don't see a striker, for me at least, on tonight's performance, and I've seen apart from that Wolves game and the Everton game as well, where like I'm seeing a striker that's just so devoid of confidence at the moment that, you know, he's just absolutely given up on the game. I think there is a striker there that's looking to score, looking to be involved, not hiding away, which I think is good. And all round, you know, it's a big win for Chelsea. It's not an amazing performance. This is going to be a performance that's going to be forgotten quickly. But, you know, given the fact that we lost to West Ham both times last season, given the fact West Ham have been impressive this season, I go back to last season. You know, Chelsea could not win when we played poorly. We've done so a couple times this season, which I think is the sign of more substance this season. I think my man of the match, as I've said already, I think is Thiago Silva. Big night for Tammy Abraham, positive for Christian Pulisic, and 3 points on the board going into Christmas. Let me know your opinions on the match in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this review. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit that like button if you're enjoying the content, because it helps out the channel as well. Up the Chelsea, and I'll see you again.